Right. Okay, guys. Start. Right. Okay, guys. Good morning and welcome the free class. So hope you can hear me properly. Send me a thumbs up. Line. Hope you can hear me. Right. So I appreciate if you can turn on the videos. Try to turn on the videos as well. Right. So this is a free seminar. I know some guys are having schools and other concerns. So most of you told me they will watch the recording. It's now I'll explain because I also don't have enough time to do any other class like another free. That's why I scheduled it to today. But I'm giving the free recording as well. Those who are not participating, you can refer the recording and make sure to refer the recording till the end because this part is really important. Why it's mostly tested in the examination. So there are nearly, these minimum there are two MCQs and one short answer question. So in the first paper. So when it comes to the past papers, you can see. So I already gave you a tune today morning. Sometimes you may don't have the printout. It's okay, fine. Just refer the PDF because I'm showing everything in here and have some piece of papers. All the questions in here. This is comprises three main parts, right? This tune comprises three main parts, and I'll explain why. So now when it comes to this one. Now in this tune there are around 30 pages, 36 pages, right? The short note එකක් දෙන්න බැරිද? ලොකු වැඩි ගොඩක් තියෙනවා. මාත් දන්නවා මොකද ඔයගොල්ලන්ට සාමාන්‍යයෙන් හැමදේම අපි බලන්නේ short and sweet කරන්නේ. Lazy, it's easy to remember. Why I gave in detail? There are three parts I told you. First one, in detail thing. Second one, summary. Third one, past papers and the other question. Easy clear to send me a thumbs up. First one, in detail note. Second one, summary and the summarized note. Third one, questions. Right? Now, this accounting concept, just the theory part, you need to have a clear idea. There are 13 concepts you need to follow, right? So that is the thing. දැන් මුලදීම මම ඉතින් ඔයාලට දීලා තියෙනවා chart එකේ there are 13 accounting concepts, right? And in the accounting concepts have thoroughly discussed. සමහරලාට ලොකු paragraph තියෙනවා. ඇයි එහෙම දාන්නේ? සමහරට ඔයාට තනියම කියවල උනත් තේරුම් ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නයි මේ paragraph දාන්නේ. send me a thumbs up if it. එතන මම කියලා නොදුන්නත් දැන් අපි ගත්තොත් teachers guide එක base කරන් mainly මම දාලා තියෙනවා. Hope you can hear me. I want the thumbs up. Right? Turn on the videos as well, guys. Right? So then what a teachers guide එක තමයි mainly මම base කරන් තියෙන්නේ මෙතන. guide එකේ තියෙන ඒවට අනිත් sources වල තියෙන notes එම දාලා තියෙනවා. So making in detail things are there, right? So don't worry, I'll explain one by one properly, right? Okay, hope you can hear me. All right. So these are in detail. Now you can see after this one. Now from page number 19 onwards, this is a quick summary regarding all the 13 MCQs, right? And again, this chart comprises a quick summary. Easy clear to you? First I gave in detail, then there is a quick summary, two quick summaries, then you can have a clear idea. Now there are questions as well. This covers the different, these things are teachers guide things and different book things, and I have included past papers, many past papers. I have included the nearest past paper as well. You can see when you go down, You can see there are 2024 A-level pass paper as well, right? So I have included, you can see this is 2024 paper. 34, 35 MCQs are the nearest paper, 2024 MCQs, right? And this is the short answer. Anyhow, I'll do if the time permits, we can do only the past paper, filters past papers. But in here, I have included everything 22, 24, 23, right? Then you can see this is 22, right? So, right. This is also 22. You can see this is 21, 21, 20, 20. Understand? You can see I have slower mention it in like small numbers, right? And the other than that, in the first part, you can see there are past papers relevant to the other questions as well. So I think most probably we will be able to cover the whole tune today because just the theory part. Sometimes you may be boring because the theory part knowing calculation. But anyhow, you need to listen for this clear to you, right? So this session I'll covering as two things from now it's around 10, 18 from this onwards to around 11, 12. I'm going to discuss all 13 questions, all 13 accounting concepts. Then I'll give you a small break. In the recording number 2, I'm going to do the only the questions discussion. Clear to you? Send me a thumbs up. So if you don't have the tune, I have numbered all the questions, right? From 1 to now in here, now when it comes to this one, like question number 15, 1, 2, 3, 4. In 15, there are around like 16 MCQs, 16, 1, 17, 1. Likewise, I have numbered everything for your easiness, right? Here, there are questions nearly around, you can 44 questions. If you don't have the tute with you, you can number it. You can write in the piece of paper. So just number 1 to that. Don't write number because the some questions are divided into A, B like that. So if you don't have the tute, no worries. You can write the answers in a piece of paper, and once you take the printout, again while reading it, you can do understand. Right. Let's start from the beginning. Hope you understood everything properly. I encourage you to turn on the videos and wait. It's good, right? Okay, this is the concept map. I'll accounting concept. This is the mind map. I'll tell you what is the term called accounting concept later. You can see there are around 13 13 accounting concepts you need to know, starting from business entity concept, going concern concept, periodic and periodicity, concept, then money measure concept, accrual concept, consistency concept, substance over form concept, realization concept, matching concept, prudence concept, materiality concept, historical cost concept, disclosure concept. This disclosure concept, there is another word for the disclosure, objectivity concept. Basically, we name the disclosure concept using another word, sometimes objectivity concept, but mainly they are giving the word called objectivity. These are the 13. First of all, we need to discuss one by one each of them, right? Understood? Send me a thumbs up. Gaming in on authority came along at right? I want the thumbs up, right? Okay, nice. Right. Let's start. What is the term called accounting concept? Why we need the accounting concept, right? So in detail knowledge, just read it and have the idea. That's it. Right. What is the term called concept? The art of concept is anyone's life or a business is very much required. Why? Without concept or guidance, human being cannot live in the world. There should be concepts or the guidelines. Concepts means another word, guidelines, right? To you, for an example, to you live in the society, right? Likewise, business entities also need proper guidelines or concepts, perform financial reporting because there are stakeholders who expect the business to produce proper transparency report. Now when it comes to the business, stakeholders need proper financial statements. Based on these reports, economic decisions are taken by them. The guidelines are also These guidelines are also called accounting concept, which are guiding the proper way or method and approaches to make financial reports a successful one, and the users, stakeholders could have faith in the financial reports of the business. දැන් මේ ඡේද කියවලා ඒක මෙහෙම කටපාඩම් කරන්න ඕනේ. Just read and understand. Now, by reading first two things, you can have a clear idea. Accounting concept means guidelines. Understand? And accounts අපිට ඕන විදිහට හදන්න බෑ. මේ standards කියන්නේ වෙනම જાතියක් ඒවත් තියෙනවා. ඒකටම similar, in grade 13 you are learning standards. But in here, like, to make a proper financial reports, we need the guidance. That's why accounting concepts are. Accounting concepts are general guidelines that should be applied when recording day-to-day business transaction and preparing financial statements. Let's see the definition. Assumptions that are made in the preparation and presentation of financial statements are known as accounting. In another word, accounting concepts refer to the basic assumptions, rules, and principles which work as the basis of recording the business transaction and preparing financial statements. Accounting concept means the basic assumptions, rules, and principles which work as the basis of recording the business transaction and preparing financial statements. This is just the assumption. These are assumption, rules, guidelines. Accordingly, the accounting concepts are used when the elements of financial statements are recognized, measured, presenting, and disclosed. When accounting elements are, assets, liability, equity, income, expense, these things are recognized, measured, presenting, and disclosed. We use this accounting concept. The accounting information prepared by business must have a uniform nature. Uniform කියන්නේ ඔක්කොම හදන accounting financial statements where there should be a uniform nature. Accounting concepts are adhered to ensure this happens. Uniform means the same. එකම විදිහට තියෙන. Right? There are a large number of accounting concepts observed in financial accounting. Accounting information contained in accounts of different business entities that are prepared and observed. These concepts is comparable. This is another word what I want to tell you. Accounting concepts are comparable. Right? So when preparing the financial statements, a number of accounting concepts may be applied. The following are most frequently used accounting concepts in preparing financial information. I told you these are the 13 MCQs. Sorry, 13 accounting concepts you need to study. Grade 12 and 13, right? I discussed everything. This is a relationship between the accounting concepts used in the recording of transaction and presentation of financial statement. Similarly, the recording of one transaction incorporates several of the above accounting concepts. Sometimes, now when it comes to the financial information, there are, for one thing, there are two or more than that accounting concepts are applying. For an example, The latter part you can see at the end I have included in the tutorial. Antimatama, before the questions I have included, you can see in here, right? So, right in here, you can see before this one. One transactions incorporates several of the above accounting concepts. For an example, when it comes to the depreciation, these are the relevant accounting concepts when it comes to the depreciation. Easy creative set, matching concept, prudent concept. I'll explain one by one. Going concern. These things are applicable to the depreciation recording of stocks, prudence concept, matching concept, money measure concept. These are the relevant things. For some one transaction, there are 3, 4, 5 accounting concepts applying. Right? Recording of expenses, matching concept, periodic concept, accrual concept, money measure concept, likewise. So you need to study it. For an example, I'll show you the nearest paper, the 2024 paper question. You can see in the 2024 paper question. Hope you can hear me. Send me a thumbs up. Right? A business is unable to continue its operation for the unforeseeable future. Which of the following accounting concepts are not relevant in the preparation of financial statements? They have asked you like 2, 3 things. That's why, right? Sometimes you can see they are asking. You can see which of the following accounting concepts provide the basis for making an allowance for doubtful debt at the end of the year? So they are asking what are the two concepts applicable for the doubtful debt. Likewise, so for one transaction, as I told you, there are 2, 3 accounting concepts are applicable, right? That is the another thing. Hope you got the clear idea. Now, from the first page, you can take a summary. Accounting concepts are like basic assumptions, rules, and regulations, right? To prepare the financial statements, right? So for the stakeholders, so then the financial statements take like a uniform nature, right? So some observing this accounting is comparable, right? So these are the summarized things from the first thing, right? Okay, let's start from the number one. I have number 1 to 30. Starting from number 1, business entity concept, right? Business entity concept. What is the term called business entity concept? There are another word, separate entity concept, just only the entity concept. Now when it comes to sole proprietorship, there are one owner and the business. When it comes to partners, there are 2 to 20 partners owned by the business, and there is a business. When it comes to companies, there are shareholders and the company. What I want to tell you, now, a business entity concept means, we identify business and the owners as two different parties. That is the simplest term. You have learned this in grade 11 as well, grade 10 level. The entity concept states that a business entity should be treated as a separate entity, independent from its owners. Owner and business are two different parties. That is the main concern in here. Hope it's clear to you, right? Brightness ready again. Now there is no again. Let me find now bit, right? There's a shadow in here, that's why, right? Sunlight. Okay. Accordingly, it separates the business entity from the owners, even though such separation may not be recognized legally. Sometimes, legally, owner and business concern as two different, the same party. For an example, when it comes to sole proprietorship and partnership, business and owner concern as the same person. You can't file a case against your nearest grocery if it is a sole proprietorship owned by one individual to the business name. If you are having a matter with nothing, Saman Pereira owns a shop called Saman. So now in the accounting perspective, under accounting entity, we separate owner and business. But from the legal perspective, if you need to file a case, the summons store, you can't file a case against the summons to, you need to file against the name of the Saman Pereira, because business is not having legal personality. Understand? So in the legal perspective, but when it comes to accounting perspective, we separate owner and the business. Example, Amali Trader is a sole proprietorship owned by Amali. From the legal point of view, Amali Traders and Amali are treated as single entity. However, for the purpose of accounting, Amali Traders is concerned as separate entity independent from Amali. What I want to tell you, sole proprietorship, partnership, so those are not having legal personality. In the legal perspective, we concern owner and business as the same person. When it comes to companies, in the legal perspective, company shareholders and company concern as two different parties. But when it comes to the accounting perspective, though it's a sole proprietorship, partnership, or company, any business, we separate owners from the business. The best example of this concept is the accounting equation where we could see the real application. Asset equal to the owner's capital and liability. Here the owner's capital or the equity is shown as a part of the liability, internal liability of the business. When owner invests something to the business, there's a separate accounting element called equity. It is a kind of an internal liability to the business. But at the same time, owners drawing in the forms of cash and goods are debited to their capital account minus from the capital, which means when owner withdrew it, we just concern internal liability decreases, right? In partnership business, the partners or the owner's personal dealings are accounted through the capital or the current account. You will learn this one in partnership accounts, capital account, right? Therefore, the entity concept emphasizes that the owner and the business are treated separately for the purpose of accounting, which increase the completeness of the qualitative characteristics of financial reporting. Now let's see what are the applications of the business entity concept. These are the past paper relevant things. The financial statements are prepared in the name of the business instead of the owner or owners of the business. We are writing the business name instead of the owner's name when preparing the financial statements. That is a one place where we apply business entity concept. Recording transaction with owners in their capacity as owners. Capital introduced by the owner is recorded as an increase in equity, and the owner obtains something from the business for personal use or drawings, decrease the equity. Owner and business are two different parties, you can see. For an example, the previous one, Amali Traders, owned by Amali. When we are preparing the financial statements, we are writing the Amali Traders name, not the Amali's name. Is it clear? Send me a thumbs up. Hope you got the clear idea. That is easy. Business entity concept. I want the thumbs ups. Are you okay up to here, guys? Send me a thumbs up. Right? Easy, right? Just have the interaction. Don't sleep, huh? Okay. First one done. Easy. Business entity concept. We separate owner and the business. Right? We are writing the owner's name, business name when we are preparing the uh, uh, financial statements. Now you know there are 13 accounting concepts. අපි අන්තිමට ඔක්කොම පුළුවන්ද කියලා බලමු. We just finished the number one. Number one is business entity concept. Entity concept. Number one done. Right? Let's go to the number two. Going concern concept. What is the term called? Going concern concept. Number two. Going concern concept. Now, when it comes to going concern concept, simply the going concern concept means when we are preparing the financial statements, we assume that the business will long last for unforeseen time period. ඒ කියන්නේ ලොකු business එක wind up කරන්න අදහසක් නැහැ. business එක දිගටම අපි continue කරනවා කියලා කියන එක තමයි අපි going concern concept එකෙන් Now, what is a one example? When we identify assets and liabilities, we categorize as non-current and current. For an example, we are categorize assets as non-current assets and current assets. Easy, clear, you guys? We categorize assets as non-current assets and the current assets, right? Non-current assets means assets which we expect to use more than 12 months. Current assets means assets which will convert into cash. Liquidity is high when it comes to current assets. When it comes to non-current assets, liquidity is lower, right? So hope you can remember we discuss everything for both all three classes 25, 26, 27. So now when it comes to if the going concern concept is breached, for an example, because of some reasons, we are going to close the business. If so, when we are going to close the business, we need to categorize all the assets as current assets. Because now this is 2000, 25, 26 accounting period. 25, 26 accounting period starting on 1st of April 2025, ends on 31st March 2026, right? If we are going to wind up the business in next year, so there is no any non-current assets or non-current liability. Why? All the assets and liabilities need to be categorized as current assets and the current liability, because there is no more than one need. Understand? Likewise, there are some things. Financial statements are prepared on the assumption that the business entity will continue its operation for the foreseeable future, right? So, in which the means the going concern concept, right? අපි ලොකු කාලයක් බිස්නස් එක කන්ටිනියු කරන්න එක්ස්පෙක්ට් කරනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ අද හෙට වහන්න අපි එක්ස්පෙක්ට් කරන්නේ නැහැ. That's why we apply the going concern concept. Hope it's clear to you. Right. Right. It is assumed here, not unforceable, it's forcible, right? It is assumed here that there is no danger of the business closing down or limiting its operational activities. In another words, it is assumed that there is no intention of the management of the business to liquidate or stop business activities of the business in the near future, so that the business entity will continue to operate for foreseeable future. His concept deals with a very valid and practical assumptions in practice, unless business intend to liquidate or stops trading or forced to do so. For an example, there's a court order to close the business. The court order or parliamentary act may require the business to stop trading or liquidate. The business entities are generally expected to continue in the long run without the intention of liquidate. Liquidate means the close down. Now let's see what are the instances when this concept is applicable. පොඩ්ඩක් ඉස්සරහට කම්මැලි වුණා වීඩියෝ එකක් පෙන්නන්න. අපි දෙක තුනක් මුලදී ඉවර කරගමුවා. Send me a thumbs up again. Right? Hope you can hear me. I want the thumbs up. Right. Okay. Let's see. So, what are the examples we apply when it comes to the going concern concept? Assets categorizing as current assets and non-current assets. It is assumed that the business will operate over a foreseeable future. Some assets may generate benefits over a short term, such as one period, current assets. And some assets may generate benefits over a number of years. Those are current assets. For an example, property, plant, and equipment category, we expect to use for a longer period of time, right? So you can see that's why we categorize assets as non-current and the current, right? So if the going concern concept is not applicable due to the intention to liquidate the business shortly, all assets shall become current assets, and the above classification shall not be used in presenting assets in the statement of financial position, right? That is another thing. Liability is categorized as current liability and non-current liability. It is assumed that the business will operate over a foreseeable future. Some liabilities may settle within a shorter period, such as within 1 year current liability, and some liabilities may be settled within after 1 year non-current liability. If the business is going to close down, we need to settle. Now, think we have obtained a bank loan to pay over 5 years. It is an non-current liability. The business is going to wind up all the liability that bank loan we need to settle within next year. Why? So we can't, because when the business is closed down, the liabilities also need to be settled. That's why you can see normally we categorize liabilities and non-current and current. But if the going concern is not applicable due to the intention to liquidate the business in the near future, all liabilities need to settle within 1 year accounting period, and therefore all the liabilities become current liability. That is how we do. And another thing, important thing, right? Not showing the assets as realizable value, the statement of financial position. Now you know. Now, when it comes to asset, there are two things: cost value and the realizable value. Due to the going concern concept, it is assumed that the business entity will not be liquidated in the foreseeable future, and therefore assets and liabilities need not to be carried out their current values, such as net realizable value. Right? ඒ කියන්නේ අපිට දැන් තියෙන values වලින් නෙමෙයි normally අපිට මොනවාද තියෙන value එකකින් ගන්න පුළුවන්. Understand? දැන් එතකොට තමයි ඒකයි අපි මොනවාද දැන් අපි business එක close down කරනවා නම් දැන් තියෙන values වලට අපි ඒවා current values වලට assess කරන්න ඕනේ. Annual depreciation of property, plant and equipment. You know, we depreciate the assets because of the going concern concept. Since the business is continue for a longer period of time, we depreciate. The useful life is more than 1 year can be estimated. You can cut down, there are 2 year can be estimated due to the assumption of continuing the business in the foreseeable future. Hence, the item of property, plant and equipment, example building, motor vehicles, plant and machinery, are depreciated over their useful life. Accordingly, the going concern concept provides the basis for the depreciation of property, plant and equipment, right? Since you know, when it comes to the depreciation, there's something called useful lifetime. So since there's a, you know, what is the term called depreciation? Tomorrow also we are learning in the adjustment lesson. You know, depreciation means, you know, the depreciable value. We systematically identify over the useful lifetime, right? So, you know, useful lifetime is the number of time period we expect to use the assets, right? So, since there is a useful lifetime more than 1 year, we are depreciating the non-current assets because of the going concern concept. The prepayments and accrual of expense reveal this concept. You know, sometimes we prepay expenses. අපි ලබන අවුරුද්ද expense මේ අවුරුද්දේ ගෙවනවා. තේරෙනවද? ඒ වගේම අපි මේ අවුරුද්දේ සමහර expense ගෙවන්න තියුවා ලබන අවුරුද්දේ ගෙවනවා. Easy creative send me a thumbs up. සමහරට අපිට කලින් income හම් වෙනවා. Understand? ඒ මොකද මේ business එක ගොඩක් going concern එකක් තියෙන නිසා, දිගටම යන නිසා, right? So where companies prepay and accrued expense because they believe that they will continue the operation in future, right? The following are some threats or symptoms which affect this concept where the business is in question for a foreseeable future. What are the instances we need to like which showing the business is in near future to close down? Losses incurred by the business which are material over a period of time. During last couple of years or more than that, incurring huge losses, right? So the business is going to close down. Understand? Right? So decreasing customer network. So our customers are decreasing. So our sales are no sales. So we are not generating revenue to the business. So we can't pay expenses. So Because of that, the business is about to close. Decrease in the turnover substantially over a period. So, turnover means the sales. Threat to the ownership of the business, private limited companies with family members, there is a threat. Business goodwill, good name in the market decrease due to poor customer satisfaction. Customers ලා සතුරු නැති නිසා market එකේ තියෙන reputation එක අඩු වෙනවා. High labor turnover. Just only turnover means the sales. Labor turnover means the labors are uh, like resigning from the business. Business again දාලා යනවා. Just remember, this is in the business studies as well. Send me a thumbs up. Just only turnover means the less sales. Say labor turnover means the employees are leaving from the company. When the employees are leaving from the company, our business is going to close up. Threat from the legal environment factors to the company. Outstanding taxes, the employee benefits are not paid for a long period due to the lack of cash inflow, etc. These are some showing things. It must be threat to the business. Going concern kesaniya පාඩම් කරන්න ඕනේ. Just remember and understand. You just need to have the quick summary, but I gave the in terms of thing to have a clear idea, the in detail knowledge. At the end, I told you in the second part, you can see there are short notes. Send me a thumbs up. Right now, we just finished two things. Am I clear? You send me a thumbs up. Gaming in on it. Do you know? Koban, send me a thumbs up. Can you hear me, guys? Right. Okay, others. Right. We finished two things. We finished business entity concept. Then we finished the second one, going concern concept. Going concern concept. Just you need to know the thing and the applicable definition. Business entity concept. The business and owner separate as two persons. What are the applications? Owners contributions we concern as equity, and owners withdrawal we concern as drawings. And also, when we are preparing the financial statements, we write the business name instead of owners name. Now, going concern concept, we categorize assets as going concern concept means, we concern the business is going to long last for a foreseeable future. And දීර්ඝ කාලයක් business එක කරන් යන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. So what are the instances we can know? We categorize assets as non-current and current. We categorize liabilities as non-current and current, right? We do depreciation. We are not identify the assets using the net realizable value in the financial statements, right? So not showing the assets at realizable value. අපි cost එකකින් ගන්න සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ගොඩක් වෙලාවට, right? So just apply the depreciation under that. And prepayment and accruals, these are the right. Business sensitive done, going concern done. Up to now. Number 3, periodic, or another word, periodicity concept. What is the term called periodic or periodicity concept? We prepare business accounts in different taking different time periods, time intervals. For an example, 1 year, 1 month, 6 months. Mostly nowadays, actually, in the actual business world, businesses prepare monthly accounts. Then I'll tell you the truth. Then හිතන්න business එක පටන් ගත්ත දවසේ ඉඳන් වහන දවසේ ඉඳන් accounts හදන්න නැතුව බෑනේ ළම. accounts හදන්න නැතුව හිටියොත් එම් business එකේ assets කොහමද ගෙවන්න තියෙනේවා මොනවද අනම්මනම් අපිට දැනගන්න බෑ. So because of that, we prepare the accounts. Easy clear, right? Now actually there's a statutory requirement to prepare the accounts for 12 months. First of all, let's take 2025-26 accounting period. 1st of April 2025, 31st of March 2026. This is the accounting period. covering 12 months, right? Now, sometimes we may think in January to December. Yes, some businesses are also preparing the accounts from January to December, January 1st to December 31st. For an example, banks and the government businesses, those prepare accounts for January to December. But most the corporate sector, private sector businesses prepare accounts April to March 31st. This year, April to next year, March 31st. So this cover 12 months. For an example, when it comes to companies, there's a statutory requirement to prepare the accounts and submit to the accounts of the company registrar of companies. So company registrar uh, covering 12 months. But businesses it's too hard to prepare whole 12 months at once. Because of that, what most businesses do, they prepare monthly accounts, monthly 1 to 12. And once, now for an example, let's take last month, June month. Once the June month completed, they prepare accounts before June 10th. මාස ඉවරයිනේ. ඉවර වෙන්න කලින් හදන්න බෑනේ. ඉවර වෙන්න කලින් accounts තියාගෙන ඇවිල්ලා මාස ඉවරලා දවස් 10ක් ඇතුළත accounts හදලා period එක close කරනවා. එතකොට ආයෙ ඒ period එකට මුකුත් adjustment කරන්න බෑ. ඒ කියන්නේ ආයෙ කපන්න කොටන්නත් බෑ. ඒ කියන්නේ කපන්න කොටන්න කියන adjust කරන්නත් බෑ. asset value එකක් අඩු කරන්න වැඩි කරන්නත් බෑ. ඒව කරනවා නම් මේ ජුලයි month එකේ තමයි කරන්න ඕනේ ජූන් month එකේ. තේරුණා නම් දාන්න මම accounting period එක close කරාට පස්සේ accounts lock වෙනවා. ආයෙ මොනවත් කරන්න බෑ සිස්ටම් එකේ. තේරුණා නම් දාන්න බලන්න. අපි එහෙම තමයි accounts හදන්නේ කම. අපිත් හැදුවනේ කාලේ. ඒ ඇත්තම ප්‍රැක්ටිකල් බිස්නස් වර්ල්ඩ් එකේ වෙන දේවල් දන්නවා. රයිට්? එතකොට එහෙම මන්ත්ලි හදාගෙන ආවහම අපිට ලේසි ඉක්මනට ටක් ගාලා ඉවර කරගන්න පුළුවන්. මාර්ච් මුලින්ම හදනවා. ඒප්‍රිල්, මේ, ජූන්, ජුලයි, ඕගස්ට්. sorry මාර්ච් නෙමෙයි. first month is April, May, June. First month is in here April 1st to 30th of April 2025. April month එකේ accounts හදනවා. මේ month එකේ 5ට 10 වෙනිදාට 10 වෙනිදාට කලින්. right? එතකොට අපේ electricity bill එහෙමත් හම්බෙනවනේ ළමයි. ඒක සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අපි electricity ගෙවන්නේ නැති වුණාට know about the accrual concept. The accrual concept, what is the term called accrual concept? Account income and expenses relevant for the period should be identified. දැන් ඇත්තටම ළමයි අප්‍රේල් මාසේ electricity bill එක එන්නේ මොනවාද මැයි මාසේ මුල. තේරුණා නම් දාන්න බලන්න thumbs. I want the thumbs up. නැත්නම් මටත් අප්‍රේල් මාසේ electricity bill එක ගෙදරට එන්නේ මැයි මාසේ. right? ඉතින් මැයි 10 වෙනිදා වෙද්දී accounts close කරද්දී අපිට හදලත් හම්බෙලත් තියෙනවා. අපි මාර්තු මාසේ අප්‍රේල් මාසේ අන්තිම වෙද්දී ඒ කොහොමත් ගෙවලා නෑනේ කොහොමත් ගෙවන්නේ මැයි මාසේ. right? ඒක නිසා අපි electricity bill එක ගෙව්වේ නෑ. which means payable විදියට identify කරගන්න. payable විදියට identify කරනවා. likewise we prepare monthly accounts, right? So for the 12 months, then it's easy to merge all the accounts and prepare single one set at the end of the March month. It's easy. අන්තිම වෙනකන් හිටියොත් ඉතින් අර වැරදි හදලා මොකද accounts මාස 6ක් වගේ අතුරත හදලා අපිට අග්ගාලා දෙන්න ඕනේ. Too hard. That's why. So what is the term called periodic or the periodicity concept? A business entity required information about financial performance and the financial position regularly for decision making. Accordingly, a businesses cannot wait till the end of the business operation to know its financial performance and the financial position. Business එක වහලා දානකම් අපිට ඉන්න බෑ මේවා කොහොමද කියලා දැනගන්න. That's why we need the accounts. Therefore, as part of periodicity concept, the ongoing activity of the business are divided into a specific period, year, quarter, month, and then the financial statements are prepared annually, quarterly, monthly, etc. This period considered for the preparation of financial statements is named the accounting period and the reporting period. From among the transactions that can take place in the business, the following transactions are considered on the assumption that the accounting year is 12 months. For an example, during the year ended 2024 March 31st, stocks worth of 60,000 were purchased, of which 20,000 worth of stocks were sold during the same year. Make a 23rd of uh, 2024 March 31st means beginning date is 2023 April 1st. So you can see this is the remaining stock. So whole things we can know. The telephone bill of the business for 7,000 relevant to the last month of the financial year was received only on 2024 April 30th, 1 month after end of the period, right? Last month telephone bill we are receiving on next day. The periodic concept provide the basics for dividing the continuous lifetime of the business into periods and prepare the financial statements for each period. The financial statements are prepared according to the periodic concepts. Example, let's see what are the examples for something. Profit, when we are preparing the business name, දැන් ඔන්න බලන්න ඔයාලට තේරෙන්න ඕනේ එතනදී. දැන් ඔයාලා past papers වලදී එහෙමත් තියෙනවා. Here in page number you can see, just remember past papers වලත් අහලා තියෙනවා. Just see, you can see දැන් ඔන්න බලන්න. When we are, this is the 2021 within brackets 2022. When we are preparing the financial statement, writing the name, business name, it is the business entity concept. Send me a thumbs up. We just finished. And income statement for the year ended. What is the concept? Periodic concept. Understand? Easy, clear, you right? Time period එකක් දෙන එක. Right? Periodic concept. Right? That's why. එම past papers උත් දැම්මේ so that මම in detail knowledge එකක් දැම්මේ ඒක මේ ලොකුවට හිතලා අයියෝ ගොඩක් තියෙනවා. සමහරව අර short and sweet දේවල් වලට කැමති. just remember and under දැන් ඔයාලට මම දුන්නේ නැතත් මේ ටියුට් එක මම පන්තිය නොකරත් ඔයාලට කියවලා තේරුම් ගන්න පුළුවන් ඉන්න මම හදලා තියෙනවා. right? Okay. Profit or loss statement for the year ended 2024 March 31st. The periodicity or the periodic concept divides the continuous life of a business entity into artificial periods, and the profit or loss is measured and the present for such period. For external reporting purposes, the income statement is usually prepared for period of 1 year. Income statement for the year ended 31st March 2021 or anything. For internal reporting purpose, the income statement may be prepared for 1 month, 1 quarter, likewise. අපිට internally දැන් අර මම කිව්ව monthly accounts හදන එක පිටට දෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක business එක ඇතුලේ තියාගන්න. statutory තියෙන්නේ අපිට accounts හදලා disclose කරන්න කියලා අවුරුද්දකට. මේක දෙනවා external. We published when it comes to companies. But this is just for the internal, like management thing. We are not disclosing this to the external parties. We just keep this for the decision making, for the board of directors. Statement of financial position. The periodic concept is used to divide in the continuous life of a business into artificial time period. For external reporting purposes, the statement of financial position is usually prepared at the end of the period of 1 year. Statements of financial position as at 31st March 2020. For internal reporting purposes, the statement of financial position may be prepared at the end of each month, each quarter, etc. Statement of financial position as at 31st March 2021, 22, 23, likewise. In addition to the above two financial statement, the full set of financial statement consists of other statements such as statements of cash flow, statement of changes in equity, and the notes to financial statements. These financial statements are also prepared periodically, and the full set of financial statements will be discussed in future volume. Okay, this is you don't need to know this one. I'll cut this one. Right? LMS එකට දාද්දි මේක අයින්. Right. Okay. Right. So we just finished three things: going concern concept, and next one, periodic concept. ඒ කියන්නේ business එක accounts හදන්නේ periods වල different periods. one month. What are the applications? When we are writing the business name, we are writing the business name for the year ended as at. Send me a thumbs up if it is clear. Out of 13, we done first 3. I want the thumbs up. Coming. Hope it's clear. Right? Okay. Nice. Number 4. Money measure concept. Right? Hope you are there. Just coming. Yeah. කට්ටිය ගොඩක් අඩු ඉස්කෝලේ නිසා. Right. ඉතින් මට යන්නත් එක පොඩි වීඩියෝ එකක් බලමු. නේද? Right. This is ළඟදී හොයාගත් එකක්. Right. This is before 18 years, around after the civil war of Sri Lanka. ලංකාව යුද්ධයෙන් පස්සේ ආපු වීඩියෝ එකක්. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් about the unity and of the Sri Lanka. මොනවාද දැන් ගොඩාක් ප්‍රශ්න වෙලා විනාශ වෙලා property distract වෙලා ඒ විච්ච නිසා මොනවාද කියන ඔක්කොම එකට ඉස්සරහට යන් කියලා 2019 වලදී ආවෙක.
All right, team, we're transitioning to FLAC, but tasks are...
බාන අහලා තියෙනවා වීඩියෝ එක.
Is all we need to give our lives a sense of peace.
Do every test, we'll do our best till we find an answer. We'll never rest.
Ekmanume anduru yuge vati vati nagitimu katalam wannawe
Onrai servu udulagam amaippo
We are Sri Lanka in full flight. We'll be Sri Lanka all through our lives, and we will try to make things right for all and all paradise.
ஒவ்வொரு வெற்றியையும் நெஞ்சில் சுமப்போம்
ధైర్య కనివు శక్తియ వడము రటకొడ నగము సామయ సదము We are Sri Lanka in full flight. We'll be Sri Lanka all through
to go.
But baby girl, that we all know we will spread our mighty wings, and the winds of fame will sing our praise. We are Sri Lanka in full flight. We'll be Sri Lanka all through our lives, and we will try to make things right for our land home paradise. We are Sri Lanka in all our ways, and we will never, ever stray, for we will always love each other. We'll be Sri Lanka till dying day. We are Sri Lanka in full flight. We'll be Sri Lanka all through our lives, and we will try to make things right for our land home paradise. We are Sri Lanka in full flight. We'll be Sri Lanka all through our lives, and we will try to make things right for our land home paradise.
Right. Okay. Right. කලින් අහලා තියෙනවද? Ivan? No, right? Is around 2009, right? 10, I think, yes. 18 years passed from today. Just calculate. Right. Okay. So we finished two things, the three things: business entity concept, going concern concept, periodic concept. Right. Right. Okay. Now today, next part, not today, next part, we are going to discuss money measurement concept. Is also easy. So fourth one, money measure concept. What is the term called money measure concept? You know, we present in this financial statement things which we can measure from the monetary terms. That is the term called money measure concept. The unit of measurement of recording the transaction in the financial accounting is money. Accordingly, based on the money measure concept, only the transaction and events that are capable of being measured in monetary terms are recognized in the financial statement. Right? අපි මොනවාද money වලින් measure කරන්න පුළුවන් ඒවා විතරයි financial statements වල හදන්නේ. Right? Okay. I don't know. Right. So accordingly, all assets, liability, and equity, income and expense items recognized in the financial statements are measured in monetary terms. In Sri Lankan context, Sri Lankan rupee (LKR) is used to measure the present financial statements. And in other countries in the world, different types of currencies are used to measure and present the financial statements figures. You know, financial statements of entities operate in USA, US dollars, European countries, euro likewise. Hence, accounting information is communicated to stakeholders through financial statements with monetary value rather than the qualitative measure, kg, units, meters, etc., and qualitative factors, quality level of outputs, customer loyalty level, etc. Instead of that qualitative things, we use the monetary things. Further, a larger number of items are usually not reflected in the accounting records and not appear in the financial statements because those cannot be measured in the terms of money. Few examples for such items list below. Employee skill levels we can't measure, so we can't present in the financial statements. We can measure better if we can present it. Why? No, we can present our employee skill levels, but there is no way to measure it. Employee working condition, value of an in-house development brand, product durability, the quality of customer support of field service, the efficiency and administration processes. Likewise, these are the things we can't measure, right? So we done fourth one, money measure concept. Fourth one also. Read you guys, right? Send me a thumbs up. Now, when it comes to this one, send me a thumbs up. Hope you can hear me. I'm audible to you. I want the thumbs ups. Yeah, making note. Right? Right. Now you can see this in this past paper also. Like you can see there are rupees round of 2000. What is the C concept we apply? Can anyone tell me? C. For the C, what is the answer? Money measure concept. Understand? Right? So money measure concept. Like this. Number 3 done. Next one. Number 4. අපිට questions කරන්න වෙලාවක් තිබ්බේ නැත්නම් මම මේක පන්ති කරන්න. So number 4 done. I think it's number 4 neither. Number 4 is the money mistake, right? So number 5, accrual concept. Sometimes you are familiar with this one. We did this one in the pre-seminar as well. What is the term called accrual concept? In the financial statements, income and expenses, we apply accrual concept. Which means it is another thing we call. Wait, just read it. Right. Okay. Next one, accrual concept. Right. Applications. Accrued expenses. Another word, payable expenses. Prepaid expenses. First we paid earlier. Receivable income, who accrued income, income received in advance, debtors, creditors. Most of the time, these things are because of the accrual concept. Let's see what is the term called accrual concept. According to the accrual concept, in computing station of profit or loss for a period, income and expense relevant to the accounting period should be recognized irrespective of the cash receipt or cash payment. Irrespective of the cash receipt or cash payment, we identify income and expenses, right, relevant for the period. That is the term called accrual concept. We learned this one, right? Accordingly, income relevant to an accounting period should be recognized in the financial statements even though it has not been received till the end of the accounting period. On the other hand, if the income is not relevant to the current accounting period, it also should not be recognized in the current financial statements even though it has been received during the current period. Similarly, expense relevant to the current period should be recognized in the financial statements even though it has not been paid during the current period. And if the expense is not relevant to the current accounting period, it should not be recognized in the current financial statements even though it has been paid during the current period. Instance, let's see what are the applications, right? So there are different applications we can see. Recognition of accrued expenses or expense payable, right? All the expenses relevant for the particular accounting period may not be paid at the end of the accounting period. For an example, I told you. Now think about monthly uh, accounts. Electricity, we are not paid during the year because we receive the electricity bill next month, right? So we are not paying it during the month, not the year. මේ මාස ගෙවන්නේ නැහැ මොකද අපිට electricity bill එක හම්බෙන්නේ ඊළඟ මාසේ. මේ මාසේ accounts අදත් accrued expense එකක් විදිහට identify කරන්න ඕනේ. මොකද අපිට ගෙවුවත් නැතත් time period එකට අදාළ ගාන දාන්න ඕනේ. As a result, certain expenses such as electricity, telephone, water, rent, etc., which are relevant to an accounting period, may be payable at the end of the accounting period. According to the accrual concept, expenses relevant to the particular period should be recognized as an expense even though it has not been paid at the end of the accounting period. This results in the recognition of accrual expense. Accrual expenses are recognized as a liability in the financial statements. Example, accrued electricity, accrued telephone, accrued rent, accrued interest rate. This is I extracted from the teacher's guide. So what is the adjustment entry regarded to the accrued expenses? Relevant expense account debit ගෙව්වත් නැතත් expense account එක debit කරලා expense එක identify කරනවා. Is concerned as a liability. Liability account credit. Relevant accrued expense account credit. For an example, you can see in here the value of electricity bill paid up to the year ended 2017 March 31st was 14,200. However, the total value of the bills received 22,000. Total bills received 22,000 relevant for the period, but paid only 14,200. So 7,800 worth of electricity expenses haven't paid till the year end. So the paid amount, cash account credit, electricity account debit, 14,200. But electricity expense account, according to the actual concept, we need to identify relevant for the period. So the unpaid amount 7,800 also debit. Then the electricity expense account increase up to the amount relevant for the period. So as 22,000. So the unpaid amount we can credit to the cash book, cash account. So instead of that, we credit to the accrued or payable electricity expense account. We discussed this one in the financial statements of a business as well. Easy, send me a thumbs up, right? The total electricity expense to be included in the income statement 22,000, amount relevant for the period. In the statement of financial position, Current liability should shown an amount of 7,800, the unpaid amount. Amount relevant for the period identified as expense in the income statement, the profit or loss statement. And the other thing, the unpaid amount we identify as a liability. Recognition of prepaid expenses or prepayment. Prepaid expenses. When we prepay something, prepay means expense එක එන්න කලින් ගෙවුවා නම් ඒක අපේ asset. හිතන්න ලබන මාසේ ඉලෙක්ට්‍රිසිටි බිල් එක මේ මාසේ ගෙවලා ආවා. දැන් හිතන්න අපි ඉලෙක්ට්‍රිසිටි බිල් එක දන්නේ නැති නිසා හිතන්න let's take June month එකේ ඉලෙක්ට්‍රිසිටි බිල් එක අපි ගෙවන්න යද්දී තිබ්බේ 30,000. මගේ ළඟ 50,000 තිබ්බා. ඉතින් ජූන් මාසේ ඉලෙක්ට්‍රිසිටි බිල් එක ගෙවද්දි මම 50,000 ම දීලා කිව්වා හරි මේ මාසෙට 30,000 ලබන මාසේ බිල එද්දි මේකේ බැලන්ස් එකෙන් අඩු කරගන්න. මම ලබන මාසේ වෙන්නත් කලින් for the next month I have already paid 20,000. It is an asset overpayment, prepayment, right? Recognition of prepaid expenses. Certain payment of expenses relevant to a future accounting period may be paid at the end of the current accounting period by a business. However, only the relevant expense for a particular period should be recognized according to the accrual concept. This results in the recognition of prepayment. The prepayments are recognition in the assets in the financial statements. Example, prepaid rent, prepaid advertising, prepaid salaries, etc. So when the business paid things, what is the double entry? Cash now thing, when it comes to that, there is an example. Although the insurance expense relevant for the years 24,000, the amount paid during the year was 25,000. So we paid prepaid 1,000. So cash account credit, insurance account debit 25,000. We need to remove the excess payment by the income and expense account, identify relevant for the period. Now in the debit side of the expense account, we can identify 25,000. We need to credit 1,000, then the expense account, when we balance it, it comes to the 24,000 amount relevant for the period. So expense account credit, relevant prepaid expense account debit. Why? It is an asset account. Over. You can see 1,000 we identify. As the insurance expense, we identify 24,000 amount relevant for the period, and overpaid 1,000 we identify as current assets in the SOF. That is the thing called prepaid expense. Is it clear? You send me a thumbs up. That is also we discuss about two things: accrued expenses and the prepaid expenses. Now next one, accrued income. What is the term called accrued income? Accrued කියන වචනේ income එක આવුත් හම්බෙලා නැහැ, expense එකක් આવුත් ගෙවලා නැහැ. accrued income කියලා කියන්නේ අවුරුද්දට අදාළ income එකක් හම්බෙලා නැහැ. ඉතින් හම්බෙච්ච ගාන cash account debit වෙලා income account එක credit වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. හම්බෙච්ච නැති ගාන ආ income account එක credit කරලා receivable income account එකට debit කරනවා since asset link. Understand? Right? So, although all the income relevant for the particular accounting period may not be received at the end of the accounting period, as a result, certain income such as rent, interest, commission, etc., which are relevant to the current accounting period may be receivable at the end of the accounting period. According to the accrual concept, income relevant to a particular period should be recognized as an income even though it has not been received due by the end of the current accounting period. This results in the recognition of accrual income. Accrued income result a recognition of income as an asset. Accrued income, rent income, accrued interest income, accrued commission income, etc. What is the adjustment entry? Income receivable account debit, relevant income account credit. A part of the building of the enterprise has been giving out a rent at 5,000 per month. During the year, 50,000 has been received. Amount relevant for the period 5,000 in 12 months means 1,000. We received only 50,000. No cash account debit, rent account credit is an income account rent account in here because we are receiving the rent 50,000. The accrued amount or the receivable amount 10,000 we credit to the rent account and we identify it to the income receivable account. Right? In the income statement, we identify 60,000 as the rent income. The accrued amount of the receivable amount we identify as current asset in this. Hope it's clear. Recognition of income received in advance කලින් හම්බෙච්ච. දැන් අර රෙන්ට් එක ගමු අවුරුද්දට දාලා ගන්න 60,000. එයා ගිය අවුරුද්දේම අපිට 70 80,000ම දුන්නා. මේ අවුරුද්දට 20,000 උත් එක්ක. කලින් හම්බෙච්ච ගාන අපේ liability. හිතන්න income එක මේ අවුරුද්දට rent එක මේ අවුරුද්දට දාලා ගන්න 60,000. That person paid 80,000. So cash account debit, rent account credit 80,000. හම්බෙච්ච ගාන එහෙමනේ දාන්නේ හම්බෙනකොට. ඉතින් වැඩිය ගෙවපු ගාන rent income account debit කරාම rent income account එකේ balance එක 60,000 වලට අඩු වෙනවා amount 11 for the period. So you know we credit to the pre-received rent income received in advance. So it is a liability account. කලින් දෙයක් හම්බුනොත් ඒක අපේ liability account. Certain income relevant for a future accounting period may be receivable by a business at the end of the current accounting period. However, only the income portion relevant to a accounting period is recognized as income of the current period as per the accrual concept. Accordingly, the income received in advance is not recognized as current period income and the recognized as a liability at the end of the current accounting period. Rent income received in advance, unearned rent income, commission income received in advance, unearned commission income. What is the adjustment entry? Relevant income account debit. The excess amount we debit and remove from the income account and identify as a liability income receivable in advance account. At the time when a part of the building of the enterprise has been given on rent 5,000 per month, sum of 75,000 was received during the accounting period. You know 15,000 there's a excess because the amount relevant for the period is 60,000. We received 75,000. So rent income account debit 50,000, income received in advance account credit 1,000. The rent income to be included in the income statement is 60,000. The amount to be shown under current liabilities in the statement of financial portion 50,000. Right. And what are the other things? We discussed 4 things, you know, accrued expenses, prepaid expenses, accrued income, pre-received income. Those are the 4 things we just discussed about the applicable. Is it clear to send me a thumb? And there is another thing, recognition of debtors and creditors. A business entity can make sales for cash as well as credit. As explained above, according to the actual concept, the relevant income for the period is recognized even though it has not been received during the year. Accordingly, credit sales are recognized in the accounting record and that results in recognition of debtors in the financial statement. Similarly, a business can make a purchase for cash as well as credit. According to the actual concept, relevant expense for the period is recognized even though it has not been paid during the period. Accordingly, credit purchases are recognized in the accounting record and the result in the recognition of the creditors in the financial statements. Is it clear to you? So we just finished the 5th one as well. What is the 5th one? Accrual concept. Accrual concept. මට පේන්නේ questions කරන්න time මදි වෙයි අවුලක් පස්සේ දවස්. Accrual. Are you okay up to here, guys? Send me. Right? Up to 5 done. Send me a thumbs up. Hello. I want your thumbs up. යමින් ඉන්නෝනේ. තුවා මුලදීම නිදිමතේ යනම් මනන් කිය. Right? වතුර ටිකක් එහෙම අරගෙන ගැම්මින්. Right. Next one. Consistency principle. Right. Oh. Come on, number 7 consistency, 6 consistency. Number 6 substance over form concepts. right? අර ද දෙකක් තිබෙත් කොහෙද තමයි මට පොඩ්ඩක් දෙකක් තිබ්බනේ කපා ගන්න කිව්වේ. print out එකක් ගත්ත එක්කනේ. right. මම ඒ ටික ආයේ හදලා ටියුට් එක දාන්න. ඔයගොල්ලෝ ටියුට් එක මේ print out එකක් ගත්තේ නැත්නම් කන්නේ. මම අලුතෙන් ආයේ මේ ටික වැරදි ටික හදලා දාන්න. One is also need. Then 12 can levels there, right? All the things, right? Next one, right? Okay. අවුලන්නේ print කරපු එක අවුලන්නේ. ඒක කපලා හදාගන්න. මම අර කලින් දෙකක් තියෙනවා කිව්ව නේද හදාගන්න. ආට් සර්ච් කරාම ඉදි කියලා බලන්න දෙක සර්ච් කරාම ඉදි එදුවේ එකත් හදන්න තිබ්බද පියුට් එක perfect nothing, right? I think it's here to here. photos ටිකක් ගහගත්තා. Can anyone check and tell me later? Referring the recording or anything? දෙකක් තිබ්බනේ කරන්න. ඕනේ අර ඔක්කොම. Right. Let's see. Then next one. Consistency concept. මෙතනත් වැරදි මේ 6 7 දෙකම consistency කියලා තියෙන්නේ. 7 එකේ නම වෙනස් වෙන්නේ. මම කියන්නේ. 6 is consistency concept. What is the term called consistency? The concept emphasizes the use of the same accounting policies in recognition, measurement, and presenting of the elements of financial statements from one period of an accounting cycle to the next period. Right? අපි එක policy එකක් ගත්තොත් for an example depreciation percentage එක ඒ percentage එක ඊළඟ අවුරුද්දේදී වෙනස් කරොත් ලොකු impact එකක් එනවා. මේ අවුරුද්ද 10% තියලා next year 15% තියලා එහෙම බෑ. The accounting policies include specific principle bases, conventions, rules, and practice apply in the preparation and presenting of the financial statements. Usually, the selected accounting policy should be consistency without change. The consistency concept helps to emphasize the comparability of the financial statement. Instances when this concept become applicable, the use of same cost formula to measure the cost of inventories. You know, there are different ways of to measure the stocks. You know, FIFO method, LIFO method, WAC method, simple average, weighted average, likewise, right? So cost of inventories could be measured using different cost formulas such as first in, first out, or weighted average. The business entity select the FIFO method to measure the cost of the inventories. They have to use it continuously without changing from year to year. This is a clear application of the consistency concept. අපි එකම දානවා නම් continuously FIFO method එකේ It is applicable of consistency concept, right? So it is easy. Consistency concept means using the same policy over a period. Easy, clear, you send me a thumbs up. Number 6. Can you hear me? Send me a thumbs up. It's easy. Consistency. I want the thumbs ups. Right. Number 6 start. Right. Number 7, this should be changed. එක මම හදන්නම්. printouts ගත්ත අය දැන්ට හදාගන්න. number 7 එකේ නම change වෙන්න ඕනේ. Right? Substance over form concept. Substance over form concept. Substance over form concept. Number 7. Substance over form concept. Right? Right? අතන අරගම තමයි type වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. Right? Let's see what is the term called substance over form concept. The name should be changed. Alright. Then lease කළා වාහනයක් ගද්දී ඒක තමයි applicable. දැන් lease කළා වාහනයක් ගත්තාම මේ vehicle එක lease එක ගෙවලා ඉවර වෙනකම් ඇත්තටම අපි use කරාට ඒගොල්ලෝ ළඟනේ පොත තියෙන්නේ. හැබැයි economic there are two kinds of leases. Financial lease and the another thing is operation lease as again. So when it comes to the finance lease, substance over is an accounting concept which emphasizes that business transactions should be accounted in according with their economic substance instead of legal form. Legal එක නැතුව economic value එක අපිට නම් තියෙන්නේ අපි ඒක identify කරන්න. අපි let's read. Economic subsistence refer to the underlying economic and commercial purpose of a business transaction over its legal law tax consideration. Right? Legal law tax consideration. Legal form refers to the interpretation of a business transaction in accordance with applicable business laws. Accordingly, when the substance of a business is different from the legal form of a transaction, ඒ කියන්නේ legal අපිට නැති වුණාට right, recognition of elements in the financial statement should be based on the substance rather than the legal of a transaction. What is the example? You can see recognition of right of use asset in financial statements of a lease. Right? Lease is an agreement in which the lessor, owner of the assets, lease is an agreement of which the lessor, owner of the asset, transfer the right of the use of asset to leasee. Right? Right? The use of the asset. Can lessor and leasee. Lessee. I think it's lessee. Again, lessor කියන්නේ owner. Lessee means the user of the asset, right? Of a then lease කරන එක්කෙනා වාහනේ අයිතිය right එක use කරන එක්කෙනාට දාන්න. Easy. All right, I'll see in 5th page. Here. Thank you. 5th page. Thank you. Right. So a specific period of time in return of payments. In a lease agreement, at the inception, the lessee gets only the right of use asset and the legal ownership is yet held with the lesser. කියන්නේ ලීගල් ඕනර්ෂිප් එක තියෙන්නේ තාම ඕන ළඟ. හැබැයි දැන් මගේ ළඟ තියෙන එකක් මම කාටද ලීස් කරනවා. එයා මොකද කරන්නේ? මගේ ඕනර්ෂිප් එක තිබ්බට එයා යූස් කරන ගමන් මට ටික ටික තමයි ගෙවන්නේ. තේරුණාද? If we account strictly based on the legal form, the lessee cannot recognize the asset as it is not owned by the lessee. However, in substance, the lessee or the leasee will be enjoying the economic benefits of the underlying assets during the lease period. දැන් අපි ගත්තොත් යූස් කරන එක්කෙනා මේක right to use asset එකක් විදිහට identify කරන ගමන් lease liability එකත් identify කරගෙන මේක කරන්න පුළුවන්. Accordingly, based on the substance, the lessee recognize an asset named right of use asset in the financial statements of this. This is an example application of the substance over form concept. ඒක අර lease වලට lease කළ වාහනයක් ගත්තට ගෙවල ඉවර වෙනකන් අපිට අයිතිය නාට අපි ගෙවනකම් ඒක අපේ right to use asset කියන asset එකක් විදිහට identify දාන්න බාන thumbs up එක. මොකද කය එකක් ගියත් අපි තමයි දාගන්නේ. එයා දාලා දෙන්නේ නැහැ. Send me a thumbs up. It's under financial risk. But when it comes to operational risk, එයා දාලා දෙනවා. හැබැයි operational risk එකකදී දාන්න බෑ. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් එහෙම ඒවා නෑ. finance risk තමයි තියෙන්නේ. Right? So number 7, substance over form concept. Number 7 also. Right? Substance over form. And there's another thing, there's another application, right? Recognition of liability based on constructive obligation. What is this? A legal obligation is an obligation that derives from a contract through it is explicit or implicit terms, legislation or operation of other law. On the other hand, a constructive obligation is an obligation that derives from the entity's action where by an establishment pattern of the past practice, published policies or sufficiently specific current statement, and the entity has indicated to other parties that it will accept further responsibilities. As a result, the entity has created a valid exception on the part of those other parties that it will be discharged from those responsibilities. A liability can be recognized based on the constructive obligation even though there is not any legal obligation. However, if we consider the legal form, it is not possible to recognize a liability. But based on the substance, liability can be recognized based on the constructive obligation. Right? ඒ කියන්නේ මේ entity එකේ action එකකින් එන එකක් තමයි constructive. Legal කියන්නේ කොහොමත් legal sign කරාම එන එකක්. For an example, the bank loan. Understand? Then when it comes to the constructive obligation, means it's kind of a obligation derived through entity's action, right? For an example, past practice, published policies or sufficiently specific current statement, the entity has indicated to other parties that it will accept certain responsibility. For an example, warranties. Can you hear me? Send me thumbs up. අපි warranty එකක් දුන්නාම easy to send me thumbs up. අපි warranty එකක් දුන්නාම අපිට legal එකක් තියෙනවා. So not legal. There is a liability to the business. එයා කැඩිලා යරන් આવොත් අපි warranty period එකේ free දෙන්න ඕන. Right? ඒක legally obligation එකක් නෙමෙයි, legally sign කරන්නේ නැහැ. As a result, the entity has created a valid expectation on the part of those parties that it will discharge from the responsibility. Send me a thumbs up if it is clear. Now, constructive obligation like kind of I want the thumbs up. Hope you are there. Don't sleep. Warranty period, it's kind of a not a legal liability, right? It's kind of a constructive thing, right? Okay. So number 7 done. Substance over form, it's for the lease and for the constructive liability, right? Okay. දැන් ඔයා පස්සේ ඔයාගේම නෝට් එකක් ගහගන්න එක. Number 8. Okay, I'll give me few minutes. I'll bring some boat and come back. So can you read up to that number 8, realization concept? Just read about the realization. Right. Okay, guys. Hope you can hear me. Send me a thumbs up. Hope I'm audible to you. Right. Hope you can hear me. I want the thumbs up. Number 8, realization concept. Right. What is the term called realization concept? This is also known as revenue recognition concept. The same thing. Revenue recognition concept. So, like for the recognition concept, we name another word called revenue recognition concept. This concept helps to identify the point at which the revenue should be recognized. When we identify the revenue, when we made the sale or when they are paying the cash, that's why. Accordingly, The revenue should be recognized in the financial statements when it is earned by the business. Earn in the point of earning, right? The revenue is earned by the business when the control of the business of the goods and services are transferred to the buyer from the seller. The application of realization concept are discussed with the following sources of income. You can see instance of this concept becomes applicable: sale of goods. According to the realization concept, revenue is recognized when it earned. In the case of sales of goods, revenue is recognized when the control of the goods are transferred from buyer to seller. The same thing I have included. I'll edit it one as right. Now you can see there is an example. Amal Trader is a furniture manufacturer, and they receive an order to manufacture and sell a set of furniture 150,000 on 1st of April 2024. The manufacturing of furniture was completed on 31st of January. The order received on 1st of January. Goods were delivered to the customer 2nd of February. The customer made the full payment 2nd of uh, February 20th. So, we receive the order January 1st, we manufacture January 31st, we deliver February 5th, we receive the payment February 20th. According to the realization concept, the revenue should be recognized at the point of transfer the control of goods to the consumer. The revenue in relation to the above transaction should be recognized. We delivered on February 5th. So this is the point where we identify the revenue. Is it clear? Right? Yeah, I mean, right? Okay. Right. Rendering a service. According to the realization concept, revenue is recognized when it is earned. In the case of rendering of a service, revenue is recognized when the control of is transferred from the seller to buyer. When the service is performed, that we need to identify as the revenue. Credit sale. Even though the money has not been received, the ownership has been exchanged and the benefits and the risk has been transferred to the customer. Therefore, it is considered as income. Where goods have been sold but they have still not been paid, been physically taken away. Here, the ownership has been exchanged, therefore, it is considered as income. Again, අපි දීලා අපි goods sell කරලා හැබැයි යා තාම ඇවිල්ලා අරගෙන ගිහිල්ලා නැහැ. right? හැබැයි අපි sell කරලා එයා තාම ඇවිල්ලා අරගෙන ගිහිල්ලා නැතත් අපි income එකක් විදිහට identify කරනවා. Where goods have been supplied on the basis of the sales or return, here since the ownership of goods still has still not changed, it is not recognized as income. Just remember this one. There is another thing, this is also relevant for tomorrow lesson as well. Goods have been supplied on the basis of sales or return. සමහර වෙලාවට අපි customers වලට goods දෙනවා මෙන්න මෙහෙම, right? sell කරනවා, sell වෙන්නේ නැත්නම් ආයි අපිට return කරන්න විදියට sales or return basis send me a thumbs up, right? ඒ කියන්නේ එයාට credit දෙනවා, right? එපා නම් අපිට ආයි return කරන්න කියලා sell වෙන්නේ නැත්නම්, right? එතකොට අපි එහෙම දෙද්දි we can identify as an income business sales. Why? ownership එක අපි transfer කරලා නැහැ, මොකද එයා පස්සේ ආයි අපිට ගෙනල්ලා දෙනවා, right? Likewise, so credit sales, service thing, sale of goods. So this is another thing, realization concept. That's about number 8. Realization. Hope it's clear. Right? Number 9. Matching concepts. further 5 more. Finished 8, further 5 more. More things are there, but you need to right? So matching concept. What is the term for matching concept? In preparing the financial statements of business, it is necessary to match the income during the period to expense incurred in earning that income. Is what is mean by the matching concept. ඒ කියන්නේ income generate වෙන්න උදව් වෙච්ච ඕන වෙච්ච ඔක්කොම expense against the revenue we need to match. ඒ කියන්නේ income වලින් expense අඩු කරනවා. expense match කරන්න ඕනේ. match කරන්න ඕනේ කියන්නේ අපි incur කරපුවා දාන්න ඕනේ. Comparing, matching the sales income with the cost of sales. The application of this concept. Matching the closing in stock inventory. එක sell උනේ නෑනේ, so we match it to know stock account debit, trading account or the cost of sales account credit. Making a provisions, staff compensation account debit, provision for staff compensation of account credit. සමහරලාට මොනවාරි provision කරනවා staff වලට compensation, right? All expenses that are not incurred in generating income in the future is considered as expense of the current period. You know, damage inventory. Then inventory එකක් තියෙනවා damage වෙලා. ඒක අපිට ඉස්සරහා income එක generate කරන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක අපිට sell කරන්න බැරි නම් we identify as expense. Damaged goods account debit, purchase account. Provision for doubtful debt. Bad debts and doubtful debts are two things. Bad debt කියන්නේ we 100% we get to know that this person is uh, not paying cash. Debtors වලට sell කරාම එයා සල්ලි ගෙවන්නේ නැත්නම් අපි කියන්නේ මොනවා හරි trusted way එකකින් දැනගන්නවා ගෙවන්නේ නැහැ කියලා. So we write off as bad debt. Doubtful debt කියන්නේ අපිට undoubt ඒවා ගෙවයිද නැද්ද කියලා sure නැති ඒවට අපි ගෙවන provision එක. provision. What is the provision for doubtful debt? Provision for doubtful debt account debit, it is an expense. Provision for doubtful debt account debit. Provision for doubtful debt account credit. Doubtful debt account is an expense account. Provision for doubtful debt is an asset decreases account. Writing of bad debt. Bad debt is an expense account. Debtors control account. Asset decreases. Right? Bad debt is an expense account. Right? So provision for depreciation. Depreciation account debit, provision for depreciation account credit. Depreciation is an expense, provision for depreciation is an asset decrease. All these three, doubtful debt, bad debt, depreciation, these debit entries are expenses. Provision entries are in here asset decreases account. These debtors are also asset account, right? That is the term called matching concept. We match expense against the income. Basically, to send me number 9. Matching concept. Matching concept. Number 9. Number 10. Prudence concept. Prudence. Right? This is kind of things in here. I included everything. Don't take stress. Just relax and read. What is the term called prudence concept? Prudence is a key concept that ensure that asset and income are not overstayed and liabilities and expense are not understated. Then asset to expense to income we overstayed වෙලත් නැහැ. Liability we expense we understated වෙලා නැති වෙන්න කරන concept එක. Accordingly, business entities are encouraged to recognize in the financial statements all liabilities as expenses that could arise from current business activities, while they are discouraged to recognize unrealized income. You know, goods sold on sale or return basis, unrealized වෙලා නැහැ. The prudence concept helps to ensure that the financial statement do not provide an inflated picture than the actual financial performance and the financial position of the reporting entity. Right? instance when this concept become applicable, huh, recognition of provision in the financial statements. Let's see. Recognition of provisions in the financial statements. Provisions such as provision for production warranty, warranty, right? Wagakeem can provision for claims, etc. recognized in the financial statement for the present obligation arise due to the current business activities. For example, there are instances that customers of a business entity may file case against the business due to some defect or the quality issues of the product sold by the business entity. It is possible that this court case might be undecided at the end of the reporting period, and lawyers of the business entity uh, would be, in their opinion, of an unfavorable outcome. According to the prudence concept, the business entity should make a provisional liability and a recognition of an expense. It is probable that unfavorable event to occur. This will avoid the understatement of liability and expense is in line with the prudence concept. Again, then අපිට court case එකක් යනවා. එතකොට අපිට ෂුවර් නෑ මොනවා වේද කියලා. හැබැයි lawyers ලා කියනවා අපිට මේකෙන් පාඩුවක් වේ වුණොත් අපි ඒකට provision එකක් කරනවා. ඒතර මේ අවුරුද්දේ අපි expense එකක් විදිහට identify කරනවා liability. ඒතර අපේ liability අඩු වෙන්නෙත් නෑ. Right? So value of inventory is at cost, and net realizable value, which is lower, in the financial statements of a sole trader we discuss. So in the SFP, when it comes the closing stock, we identify lower of the cost or the net realizable value. Inventories are measured at cost or net realizable value, which is lower. This is to avoid to the understatement of assets in line with the prudency concept. Should be prudency concept. Example, if an item of inventory costing 100,000 can be expected to be sold at a net realizable value of 120,000, it is measured at the cost 100,000. This is in line with the prudency concept. So this is in line with the prudency concept, as this is will not overvalue the inventory and avoid the inflated price. So, however, if the net realizable value of this inventory item is 80,000, then it is measured 80,000 rather than cost of 100,000. This is also in line with the prudency concept, as this will not overstate the assets. Further, this leads to recognition of inventory write-off expense 20,000, as this is not expected to be realized. Therefore, the prudency concept focus on the accounting treatments of the accounting expense which are discussed below: inventory valuation, provision for bad, failed, and doubtful debt, provision for depreciation, making a provision for workman's compensation. Applying this concept, the above categorization of expenditure ensure healthy finances. Right. Prudence means, we are not overstating income and expenses and understating liability, and so we are not overstating assets and income, not understating liability. Right. So these are the applications as well. Provisions and the inventory, we calculate the lower value of the cost and the net realizable value, right? Okay, so there are some questions. I'm not going to do this now because we can do this once we finish the our financial statements of a sole trader adjustment entries. Easy to send adjustment entries කරාම ඔයාලට මේක තේරෙයි. හෙට මම කරන lesson එකකින් ඔයාලට මේක තේරෙයි. දෙන්නේ තමයි සර්. right? හෙට කරාට පස්සේ අපි මේක ඊළඟට කොහොමත් ආයෙ දවසකට අපිට යන්න වෙනවා කරද්දි. එතකොට මම කරන්න. So we finished the 10th one as well. 10th one, prudency concept. Prudency concept. Right? The what is that? You can see these are the double entries. You can see they have given for the doubtful debt provision, right? So for the first time. So and the other thing I'm not going to discuss because this will be discussing tomorrow, right? The account balance after the adjustments must be correctly included in the financial statements. In addition to the prudence concept, there are other concept connection to the above set, matching concept, realization concept. I told you when it comes to these things also, the previous things, matching concepts and the realization concept also applicable when it comes to these things, right? Easy, right? Number 10 done. Number 11, what is the level? Materiality concept. මේකෙන් ගොඩක් MCQ තමයි ගොඩක් materiality concept, right? What is the term called materiality? When we identify the assets in the financial statements, we need to consider the material. In accounting, materiality depends on what extent and what some information may impact upon the decision making ability of the interest parties on the accounting information. Accordingly, in some accounting transaction recorded as an asset or as an expense or some other item, a decision on this taken according to the materiality concept. Materiality is the level of importance of the particular item. It will depend on the size of the activity and their nature. This is known as materiality concept. Then for an example, අපි පංච් එකක් ගත්තොත් ස්ටෙප්ලර් මැෂින් එකක් ගත්තොත් අපි මේක ඇසෙට් එකක් විදිහට අයිඩෙන්ටිෆයි කරන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. ඒක ඩිසිෂන් වලට අපිට මැටීරියලිටි ඉන්ෆ්ලුවන්ස් එකක් දෙන්නේ නැහැ. So we identify as expense. පංච් එක ස්ටෙප්ලර් මැෂින් එක අපිට we use for the longer period of time, but we are not identified as a non-current asset. A loan is given to a director of the company, however small it may be, must be disclosed separately, right? However small it may be, must be දැන් සමහර director කෙනෙක්ට අපි loan එකක් දෙනවා හිතන්න 10,000 වගේ, but we need to identify it separately, right? According to the material concept, right? So the material concept state that all material facts must be presented separately because it significantly affected the user's decision, while immaterial fact could be aggregate and presented. Furthermore, the material concept is taken into consideration in recognition of the elements of the financial statements. Instance when this concept may be applicable, there are some information you can recognition of the low value of assets and expense. I told you assets uh, present asset represent present economic resources arising from past transaction. Accordingly, small value items such as punches, stapler machine, etc. meet the definition of assets and could be counted as asset and depreciated over few years of useful life. However, it is practice to recognize this item as an expense in the period as they incurred. This is in line with the material concept, and recognition of the small value item as expense we will not make any change to the user's decision. පංච් එකක් ගත්තා කියලා වලට ඒක බලපාන්නේ නැහැ. Separate disclosure of material information in the financial statements. Information such as depreciation expense, inventory write-off, management remuneration, statutory payments such as income tax, etc. is disclosed separately, as this is information is material by nature and significantly affect to the user's decision. That is the term called materiality concept, right? Number 11, materiality concept. Last two, historical cost concept, right? And the disclosure concept. What is the term called historical cost concept? The assets that an organization possesses and the cost incurred and the true cost of exchange on the date of acquisition must be recorded in the books of what is meant by the historical custom. This recording at post confirm about trustworthiness and convenience take place. Similarly, accounting activities becomes too easier. Instance when a deviation from the historical concept take place when property plant equipment at revaluation value the stocks is recorded at net realizable value then historical cost කියන්නේ මොකක්ද අපි ගත්ත කාලෙම ගත්ත value එකටම දේවල් use කරන්න ඕනේ හැබැයි think when we think about දැන් අපි asset එකක් revalue කරනවා කාලයක් ගියාම asset එක market value එකට adjust කරන revalue කරනවා ඒකට historical concept එකෙන් deviate වෙනවා කියන්නේ ඉස්සර අපි ගද්දි ලක්ෂ 60 නම් දැන් market එකේ value එක 80කට විතර වැඩි වෙලා නම් revalue කරාම cost එක වැඩි වෙනවා ඊළඟට you know we are in the stocks we identify either cost or the net realizable value stocks right so the stocks net realizable value එකෙන් identify කරොත් you know ඒකත් historical cost concept එකෙන් deviate වෙනවා application of the concept when property plant equipment recorded for the first time at cost you know when we are not revaluing it you know till that we identify the cost in the ppe when subsequently cost incurred for property plant equipment is recorded at the cost you know when we uh, made some things to increase the value of the property plant equipment you know increase the like useful lifetime or anything you will learn in NK 60 so it is also added to the cost this concept required that the accounting transaction to be recorded at historical cost the historical cost is the consideration received or receivable or paid or payable at the end of the transaction accordingly the historical cost concept stores that the assets and liabilities of the business should be at their historical cost of the financial statements. Hence, assets and liabilities are recognized in the financial statement based on their historical cost rather than their current value, right? Instance when this concept being applicable, you can see tangible non-current assets measuring items of property plant and equipment at cost at recognition tangible non-current assets such as land building motor vehicle plant machineries office equipment etc are included in property plant and equipment ppe when a business entity purchases an item of ppe is initially measured at cost although the current value may be different from the cost this is an example from the application of historical cost concept. However, it should be noted that there are certain instances of deviation from historical concept, which are elaborated below. You know, in value of inventories, valuing of inventories at net realizable value, revaluation of property, plant, and equipment. These are the things I told you. You can see the same thing when we identify net realizable value you know when we record the lower value of the cost of the net realizable value the net realizable value is lower than the cost so we identify this in the SFP, right so you know it is a breaking the historical cost concept is it clear to send me a thumbs up I want the thumbs up hope you are there jamming in last two then we can move papers jamming in Dragani. I know it's a little boring, but you need to listen. Can you hear me, guys? Send me a hope you are there, right? Right. Next one. So we just finished number 12 historical cost concept. Number 12. Cost concept. Last one. Disclosure concept. Disclosure. We need to disclose the things. All accounting information that is relevant to the interested party must be disclosed in the financial statement as per this concept. What are the applications? Disclose of the cost and accumulated depreciation with regard to the property, plant, and equipment separately. In the income statement of the public limited company, in calculating the profit before tax and disclosing all the items that need to be disclosed, depreciation, loan interest, etc. Disclosure of stocks classification. This concept states that the whole information relevant for the decision making should be disclosed in the financial statement. As the external users depends on these financial statements of their information needed, it is required to provide all information, relevant information in the financial statements. Hence, information is relevant to the stakeholder should not be omitted from the financial statements, even though such disclosure may be unfavorable to the business. Accordingly, all the relevant information which are not presented in the face of the financial statements are disclosed in the notes to the financial statements as per the disclosure concept. Now when it comes to these things are not value with the value we disclose as a notes to the financial statement. In uh, company accounts there are five things: profit or loss statement, statement of financial position, then financial statements, sorry, statement of financial position, and cash flow statement, changes in equity, and the notes for financial statement. Notes we disclose the important instances when this concept becomes applicable. Disclose of additional information in relation to property, plant, and equipment in the notes of financial statements. In addition to the information presented on the face of the financial statements in relation to the people, additional information such as additions, disclosure, depreciation for the period, etc., are disclosed in the notes of the financial statements as per the disclosure concept. This is a clear application of the disclosure concept. Disclose of the contingent liabilities. Contingent liability includes possible obligations such as result of a past event. The existence will be confirmed only by the occurrence or non-occurrence of one or more certain future events that may not wholly with the control of the entity. For example, assume that the customer of Amali Traders, a furniture manufacturer, have filed a case against the business claiming 5 million as compensation due to some defects and the quality issues of furniture sold by the business entity. Assume that the case was undecided at the end of the accounting period and the lawyer of the business entity were also not in the position to provide uh, uh, an opinion in relation to the outcome of the case, as it is very uh, uh, early stage. If the lawyers still uh, we are going to, now there will be disadvantage to you, we need to make a provision, right? But if not, if there is a lawyers also not stating it according to, there is a possibility obligation at the end of the reporting period which result the contingency liabilities. This contingency liability is disclosed in the notes of the financial statement. This is also clear application of disclosure concept. So අපි note එකක් දානවා contingency liability එකක් විදියට, right? Is it clear to you? Send me a thumbs up, right? So you will learn there's a standards for contingency liability. So your former grade 13 වලත් උගන්වනවා, බය වෙන්න එපා. Send me a thumbs up if it, can you hear me guys? මේවට ඔක්කොම ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ්ස් අනම්ම නම් අපි grade 13 වල ඉගෙන ගන්නවා ලොකුවට තේරුම් නැති වුණාට. Just don't think, right? Number 13, disclosure. All done, right? Now in here I have included similarly the recording of one transaction incorporates several of the above accounting concepts. You can see depreciation, matching concept, we match expense against income, prudency concept, going concern concept, right? Periodic concept, money measure concept. These things is the depreciation. Recording of stocks, prudency concept, matching concept, money measure concepts are relevant. Expenses, matching concept, periodic concept, accrual concept, money measure concept. Recording of income, realization concept, accrual concept, matching concept, periodic concept, money measure concepts are relevant. Property, plant, and equipment, historical cost concept, going concern, disclosure, money measure concept. Now in here, what I have done, right? So I have included, right, things relevant to here. දැන් මේ ඔක්කොගෙම අපි මෙච්චර වෙලාවම ලොකුවට කතා කරපු හැම එකේම hope you can hear me right මම කතා කරපු හැම එකේම right මොකද කරලා තියෙන්නේ summary එකක් දීලා තියෙනවා මේවා business entity going concern periodic concept money measure accrual consistency principle substance over form realization concept matching concept right prudency concept materiality concept historical cost concept disclosure concept there is a summary note and some users I have mentioned in the chart understand you can see right some uses තව තියෙනවා ඔයාට ඊට වඩා තව මං දුන්නේව දාලා ඔක්කොටම chart එකක් ගහන්න පුළුවන් ඊට වඩා වෙනස් විදියකට මං දුන්න ඔක්කොම users මම අතන in detail දාලා දෙන ඒව දාලා විතරක් chart එකක් ගහන්න easy clean I appreciate if you can do it again you can made a chart as a homework again ඔයාට දාන්න පුළුවන් මෙන්න මෙහෙම like you can do like this there are three things like you can do a chart like accounting concept definition and the users ඔය ඔක්කොම දාලා concept ඔයා හදන්න send me a thumbs up definition and the users for an example if I take the accounting entity concept definition you know business and owner identify as two different parties so what are the users you know when we are writing the when we are preparing the financial statements writing the business name instead of owner's name when owner invest things we concern as equity increase when owner withdraw things we concern as equity decrease like that right okay right so this is enough for the part 1 I'll give you like 30 minutes break right so 30 minutes break from 1 to 2 p.m we can do the questions easy clear to you guys now it's almost you know 1:25 you need to come around so 12:24 you need to come around 12:55 easy clear to you you need to come around 12:55 right so from that onwards I'll do some questions relevant to that right මතක තියන්න මම මේ ටික කරේ නෑ මේ ටික මම පස්සේ දවසක් කරන්න ඔයගොල්ලන්ට මේක දැන් කරන්න බෑ ඒ ටික ඔයාලට තාම financial statements ගැන knowledge එකක් නැතුව කළා වැඩකුත් ප්‍රාතිපයින් right okay so let's do the questions relevant to that I'll end the recording I will made another recording for the part 2 right